Hello, everybody. I am Mike from the Rewatch Project with Hannah and Mike podcast, and I'm a lifelong Star Trek and Star Wars fan watching classic William Hartnell era Doctor Who for the first time. In fact, watching Doctor Who itself for the first time. So I've reached the second part of the Sensorites serial from 1964, namely the episode The Unwilling Warriors. So let's see what part two of this has in store. The first part ended with a very, from my limited memory of sort of partly half watching, behind the sofa, that's the cliche, isn't it? Doctor Who in the 1970s and 1980s. Classic Doctor Who monster appeared at the end of the first episode, so I'm looking forward to seeing that. And there was some fun, nice proto-alien, the film Alien, that is, vibes to the first part of the Sensorites, which I still hear the song The Israelites in my head every time I say. A couple of quick bits of housekeeping. First of all, I appreciate feedback, which you can send either at rewatchprojectpodcast@gmail.com, and I would remind you to please check out the Rewatch Project podcast, where my wife Hannah and I go back and watch some classic TV shows. That's an audio podcast that also shares a feed here. I would also say to check out some of the other video content we've got on this channel, including Rolling Thunder, which is where I go back and look at some of my favourite 80s action TV shows out of America. So that's a lot of fun there. And also comments on the YouTube channel are great. It's really awesome to get feedback, and also schooling and education from all of those knowledgeable Whovians out there who no doubt shout at their computer screens or phone or tablet screens every time I say something stupid, which is frequently because I do not know very much about Doctor Who, but I am laying myself bare and vulnerable to your mercy, so please go gently with me, please. So, I think that's about it for the housekeeping. Let's get in and watch part two of the Sensorites. Okay, so we're at the end of the prior episode. Very tense. A lot of tension building in that first part. There it is. It's a bloody monster. The Unwilling Warriors. Right, Peter Newman. Look at Hartnell's authority there. Steady hand. So it's the fear that makes them vulnerable. That's such a British thing, isn't it? Just snap out of it, man. Love it. Will you? Oh, is he in their thrall? That's a great classic sci-fi idea, isn't it? Got to keep you cool. Fear is always the way in. The way she appeared there. All right. Fight it, man. The condescending school teacher. They're trying to boost him. Make him strong so he doesn't let them in. Great manic sci-fi acting there. That would fit Star Trek. 60s Star Trek, that is. I suppose, theatre and playing for the back seats, the cheap seats, was still very much the prevailing style, because, of course, TVs were so small and tucked away in the corner of the room that you had to project. It's just it's a smaller dot of light. Okay, so look at these beasties. Some proper monsters. I like that they're referring to these previous adventures. And it's nice to see Susan contributing here as well, because she has had experience with these things that predates Barbara and Ian. See, the ladies know what's going on. Oh, good sci-fi, cardboard, heavy, pretending it's metal acting. I say that with love. Again, it's really nice to see the companions meaningfully contributing as well, and not just running around screaming or getting captured, which is the cliche, isn't it? That's what people remember. And I think a little bit like when you go back and watch the original Star Trek, my beloved franchise, I think a lot of those things that have been parodied and referenced, often by the later incarnations of the show themselves, are often just a small part of it. I mean, a great example of that is with Star Trek. People always talk about Captain Kirk being a womanizer. And, when they rebooted the show in the films in 2009, Chris Pine played Kirk as kind of a frat boy who was just chasing women around. And it was never really like that with Kirk. I mean, it was a 60s TV show, so of course, he was the romantic lead of the show and he'd get the girl. But it was always shown as being relationships of substance and never frivolous. And I feel like the relationship between the Doctor and the companions here is similar in that regard, that, it's not as cut and dry and as cliche as I think the later incarnations of the show, from what I recall seeing it here and there, tends to indicate, or at least the public consciousness of these things. Oh, okay. It's a very Star Trek thing, isn't it? Communication. Hmm. Hmm. He's the science teacher, right? That's a good point. Apologies for not remembering who it was, but one of the commentators on the YouTube channel mentioned that you do start to see this idea of them wanting to get home dissipating as a narrative drive. They've kind of settled into the idea of being travelers and being on this kind of, a feather on the wind. And, this idea of, oh my gosh, we're trapped in time and space. They've definitely, I think, at the very least, made their peace with that, if not perhaps embraced it, or being in the formative stages of embracing that. Very philosophical. Good on you, Susan. The monocle, that's perfect. Look at his face. I love this stuff. It's business. Now he's got a monocle as well to use. Good tension, good sneaking around. It's definitely primed entire generations of people for horror movies. It's sort of like entry-level horror, isn't it? Like I guess the Harry Potter movies would be years later, and films like Gremlins would be in the 80s. This music, again, very similar to what we'd see a couple of years later in Star Trek. Tense, atmospheric, brassy. I can imagine being a child and watching this through my fingers, thinking, "Oh, the music and the film grammar's telling me that something's going to happen." Even if it doesn't, the tension's still there. Lots of great use of faces in this show. Again, the production restrictions resulting in creativity and atmosphere. And the likability of the performances, of course. Oh dear. See, they look pretty good. And these alien voices as well. It's just creative stuff going on here. Again, I'm probably watching this with greater clarity than you'd have had watching it on TV at the time. It still looks good. Having to keep them in quite a small frame there. Go on. Use some of that Ian Fu. I know, obviously, that the companions change as the show goes on, but it's only just occurred to me. They don't die, do they? Because I don't think I could quite handle that if Ian or Barbara or Susan were to. It's literally just only occurred to me now. I hadn't even thought about that, this being a family show or a children's show, but maybe. I don't know. Yeah, that's a thought. All right, Doc. Put it away, mate. Again, it's very Star Trek, this idea of communication. Just because they're monstrous looking doesn't mean they're monsters. I mean, they might be. They got to do, Hickey. Oh, she's under thrall. Oh. Yeah. Says that with such confidence. See, I mean, they've got eyelashes. There's a nuance to the design on these things. Oh, so they're using Susan as some kind of emissary. Jumpsuits, always good to see. Can't beat a good jumpsuit. I miss jumpsuits in sci-fi, truth be told. Space people. They're protecting an asset. It's almost like it's like oil or something, isn't it? Or a natural resource that they want to keep to themselves. There's almost a, dare I say it, a geopolitical allegory going on here. Before Star Trek, I might point out. They're trying to protect people. It's good. Don't want to mess with Ian. Checkmate. I love it. I love Hartnell with this kind of cocky energy. Oh, hello. Is that a weakness? Standing up straight there. It's found a weakness. Banter. Oh no. Spoke too soon. Prisoner Susan's back. Hidden danger. Okay, so yeah, this is a fun one. I'd say this is slap bang mid tier stuff for me. You know, we're seeing a lot of things that we've seen before. Having said that, I think that one of the things that I'm enjoying about this storyline so far is the accumulated narrative of the show, whether that be the fact that there's more shared experiences, some that we've seen on screen, some that we haven't for them to call back on, but also the character development and the banter and the learnings and the shared history that they've got together, and also the confidence that the show's got of how much they know their characters and what they can do. You're really starting to see that pay dividends. So whilst I think this story so far is somewhat mid-tier, I think it's elevated by just the fact that the production itself is really firing on all cylinders at this point. So I'm very much looking forward to seeing the next part in this serial. So yeah, back very soon with Hidden Danger, part 3 of the Sensorites. Quick reminder that I appreciate feedback. Please do leave comments and messages on the YouTube channel. Please do share the channel and the videos with people in the Doctor Who community. I'm sure they'll get a kick out of watching me fumble my way through these. And I'll be back very soon to watch more Doctor Who. So thank you and see you soon.